Hey everyone, my name is Johnny and I'm a drummer living in Toronto, Canada. And for today's video, I just thought I would talk a little bit about my favorite drumsticks, which are Los Cabos 7A maple drumsticks. And I thought I would talk about how and when I picked them up for the first time and what I liked about them so much and why I still love them till this day. And also how I ended up eventually getting an endorsement deal with Los Cabos a few years later. But before we get to all of that, I'm going to show you the drumsticks up close first. So here we have the 7A Maple Drumsticks by Los Cabos, my favorite drumstick. This is the packaging that Los Cabos drumsticks come in. And as you can see, they have a nice little Canadian maple leaf there, and it says Made in Canada. And here's the back. And here they are extremely close up, with the acorn tip. And yeah, I just love that it says Made in Canada. So now here's the story of how I came into contact with Los Cabos drumsticks for the first time. This was maybe about 6 years ago. The band I played in and still currently play in is called the Dreamboats, and we do 50s, 60s rock and roll covers and original music in that style. And the kind of gigs we were playing 6 years ago were definitely more on the cover side of gigs. So we were doing private events, corporate things, and some weddings and things like that. And I remember I would always go into Long and McQuaid, the music store we have, which is like the guitar center of Canada. And I would always look at the drumstick wall and I would just test out a bunch of sticks. And my bandmate, Chris, who used to work in the drum department there, said, hey, check out Los Cabos drumsticks. They're really light and you'd be able to lay into them a bit without lighting up the room, which was always the problem playing at corporate gigs and weddings, where you don't want to be too loud, but you still want to be able to lay into it, you know? And I didn't want to use any of the hot rod sticks or the splash sticks or anything like that. I also remember another draw to these sticks initially was that they cost less than some of the bigger drumstick brands, which was really good for a drummer on a budget. I remember I couldn't justify buying drumsticks that were like $13, $14. I was going through them so quickly that I really didn't want to spend that kind of money on drumsticks. So these were maybe $3 or $4 cheaper, and they were of the same quality, if not better. So I ended up picking up the 7A Maples, and I remember immediately just feeling how light they were, yet they still had a bit of a thickness that I liked, which is still pretty thin for a lot of drummers. But there was something about them. I just picked them up and they felt really natural in my hands. So I ended up using them at the gig, and I remember really enjoying playing with them. They just, as simple as that, they just felt like a good stick. And to be honest, I felt a bit of relief just thinking, I finally found a stick that I can confidently buy and know exactly what I'm getting and know that I'll be able to lay into the drums without lighting up the room. So it was pretty much a match made in heaven at that point. Like it was kind of love at first sight. And I felt like I could just make them my own for whatever reason. So I've stuck with the 7A Maples now for about 6 years. About 2 years ago, a buddy of mine noticed that I was always playing these sticks, and he said, hey man, why don't you reach out to Los Cabos and, see if you can get some kind of sponsorship or endorsement? And I was like, they'd never take me, I'm a self-taught drummer. I'm not a big gear nut. I don't talk about gear really. I just like playing the drums and just love keeping it steady and holding down a beat and just being as entertaining as I can be on the drums. But he said, you should try. And at the time, the Dreamboats were doing a lot of theater gigs and a lot of great club gigs. And we'd been touring around Europe and in the United States and California as well. So I went on their website. I remember thinking they probably get 1 million emails a week of people trying to get endorsements and trying to get sponsorships. But, I figured it was worth a shot. So I think at the time they had a bit of a questionnaire, asking about yourself and your social media handles and all of that. So I filled it out. But in addition to that, I actually ended up sending them a physical press kit. And the press kit included our band, the Dreamboats press kit, which was really nicely done. And as you can see, it was a nice folder with our picture on the front. On the inside, I had some press that we received. Also just some merch items. I thought it would kind of be fun and maybe they'd get a kick out of it. I also included a 1-page bio about myself. And I used an awesome website called Canva, which I highly recommend. You might be thinking, I can't design something like this, but if you go to canva.com, I'll put a link below, you can design stuff so easily and it looks so professional. You can download it high res in PDF format and it's totally free. So I highly recommend checking that out for any kind of promo that you want to do online. Anyways, I sent that package and I kind of patiently awaited to see what would happen. About a week and a half later, I got an email back from Philip at Los Cabos saying, look, Johnny, I was so impressed with the press kit you sent me and I really loved it. To be honest, we're not looking to add any new drummers to the roster this year. But because he said he liked the press kit so much, he couldn't say no. So I was pretty happy about that. I kind of couldn't believe it, you know, and it just felt really good that the drumstick company that I already loved so much was willing to endorse me. And aside from getting the endorsement, it was also great to just become a part of the Los Cabos family, which is an international group of drummers from all over the world. It was just nice to feel a part of something like that. There's a real sense of community there, which I really like. And I'm just so fortunate that they chose to add me to their roster and back what I'm all about as a drummer and what the Dreamboats are all about in our quest for, you know, global takeover. I will say though, as much as I love the 7A Maples, the last order I placed through Los Cabos were for the 5A Maples, which are a little thicker. And since we're in a pandemic right now, I thought I would try out a whole bunch of 5A Maples and see if I like them. And they're great. And I really like them as well. And maybe when we get back to playing at nice loud clubs, I'll be able to use the 5A Maples and really lay into it and crack the drums a little bit harder. But for now, I still love my 7A Maples and they're so great. And Los Cabos drumsticks are made in New Brunswick, which is a province in the eastern part of Canada. And it doesn't get more Canadian than that. So there's a real sense of Canadiana in these drumsticks that I just really love as well. I highly recommend checking out Los Cabos. I've put a link in the description below. And if you have a music store in your area, see if they can order you in a pair. Maybe they can become a supplier and you can kind of start the Los Cabos trend in your city because they're a great stick. So please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. If you've tried Los Cabos drumsticks before, please comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you're about to try them for the first time, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of them. And if you play the 7A Maples, definitely message me below because I'm curious to meet some like-minded drummers that dig these sticks. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.